Here is section 1 of the script, written in a direct, emotionally layered, and engaging style, with a word count of 760+ words, staying true to the narrative outline and the tone expected in a high-quality faceless infidelity story. I used to believe that love was enough. That if you married the right person, everything else would fall into place. For a while, it did. James and I had the house, the rings, the routine. But somewhere along the way, the warmth we once shared turned lukewarm. Conversations became mechanical. Dinners were silent. And when he touched me, it felt like habit, not desire. It wasn't always like that. James used to leave me little notes, wake up early just to make me coffee. But now, he's always working late, barely glancing up from his phone. When he does look at me, it's as if he's searching for someone he used to know. I started wondering if he felt it too, this widening gap between us. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to seem needy. Or worse, desperate. Then Liam moved in. James's younger brother, fresh out of a breakup and looking for a temporary place to stay. He was supposed to be here for a few weeks. I remember the first time I saw him again, taller than I remembered, hair a little longer, smile still effortless. He walked in like he belonged, with the kind of energy that changes the air in a room. He hugged me tight, smelled like citrus and something warm. I wasn't expecting the jolt it gave me. From the start, Liam noticed things James didn't. New haircut. That color looks great on you. Small things. But when you've been invisible for a while, those little things feel like lifelines. I laughed more when he was around. Not because he was trying to be funny, but because he actually listened. He'd sit at the counter while I cooked, telling stories from his job, asking about mine, remembering things I said. One night, we were all watching TV. James fell asleep on the couch. I got up to clean, but Liam offered to help. We stood side by side in the kitchen, rinsing plates and passing them wordlessly. I felt his arm brush mine, just once. But I noticed. I think he did too. There was this tension, thick and unspoken, building between us. Like we both knew there was a boundary we weren't supposed to cross, but curiosity kept us walking along the edge. Sometimes I'd catch him looking at me when he thought I wasn't watching. Not in a crude way, more like he was trying to figure me out. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Then came our anniversary. 5 years. I waited all day for James to mention it. Nothing. No text. No flowers. Nothing. I set the table anyway. Made his favorite meal. He called around 8, said he was caught up at work, told me not to wait up. I sat at that table alone for an hour before putting everything away. When I came back into the living room, there was a single cupcake sitting on the coffee table. One candle in the middle. A napkin folded into a little heart. Liam leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Quiet. You shouldn't have, I said, trying to smile. Someone should have. He replied. We didn't say much after that. Just ate the cupcake together. Half each. But something shifted in that moment. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even sexual. It was human. A silent recognition of something both of us weren't getting anywhere else. The following days, the tension grew sharper. I'd walk into a room, and if he was there, I'd immediately feel his presence. I found myself dressing differently. Putting on lip gloss before coming downstairs. Not for him, I told myself. Just for me. But I knew that wasn't true. One afternoon, I caught him working out in the garage, shirtless, sweat running down his neck. I paused longer than I should have. He noticed. Said nothing. Just smiled. Later that evening, James came home late again. Barely looked at me before going to bed. Liam and I were left in the kitchen. He reached up to grab a mug from the high shelf. I reached at the same time. Our hands touched. I didn't pull away immediately. Neither did he. When I finally did, I could still feel the imprint of his skin on mine. That night, lying in bed next to my husband, I stared at the ceiling and tried to pretend everything was normal. But my body felt different. Awakened. Alive. And it terrified me. I told myself I could stop it. That it was just in my head. Just harmless attention in a moment of emotional starvation. But even then, I knew I was lying, because temptation doesn't knock on your door. It moves in. Smiles at you from across the table. makes you laugh when you feel like crying. And before you know it, you're not just standing near the edge, you're already halfway over it, and I wasn't sure I wanted to come back. Let me know when you're ready for section 2. Here is section 2 of the script, with a minimum of 760 words, continuing the story directly, with no repetition, no fluff, and sharp emotional pacing as requested. James had barely closed the door behind him when the silence settled in. He'd left for a 2-day conference. I stood in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a wine glass, heart beating faster than I wanted to admit. Liam was upstairs, music playing softly from his room. I told myself to stay downstairs. But I didn't. I knocked once and stepped in. He looked up from his laptop, headphones off. "You good?" he asked. I nodded, said something about needing company. He didn't question it. Just moved over, made space beside him. We watched something on his laptop. I couldn't tell you what. I wasn't really watching. I could feel the warmth of his thigh next to mine. We didn't touch, not yet. But the air felt charged. Every shift of movement, every breath, it was like waiting for a storm to break. He turned to say something, and our faces were close. Too close. I didn't move. Neither did he. His eyes dropped to my mouth. And then he kissed me. There was no hesitation. No second guessing. It wasn't soft. It wasn't romantic. It was everything I'd been suppressing for weeks, all pouring out in one terrifying, magnetic collision. My hands were in his hair. His were on my waist. We didn't talk. We didn't ask questions. We didn't stop. It wasn't about love. It was about being seen. About feeling something, anything, that wasn't dull and predictable. He knew exactly how to touch me, like he'd been thinking about it for just as long as I had. My body responded before my mind could form a single thought. I didn't care about the consequences. I didn't care about right or wrong. In that moment, I just wanted to feel alive. Afterward, I lay on his chest, heart pounding, breath shallow. Guilt hadn't hit me yet. I was still in the high. The forbidden rush of it all. Liam stroked my hair without saying a word. But I could feel the questions lingering in both of us. I got dressed quietly. As I opened the door to leave, he said my name. Just once. I didn't turn around. The guilt came fast the next morning. James had texted me good morning, followed by a photo of a flower shop he'd passed. Reminded me of you, he wrote. I stared at the screen, fingers trembling. I couldn't reply. Not yet. Liam avoided me. I avoided him back. The house suddenly felt smaller. Every corner was heavy with the weight of what we'd done. I caught him in the hallway once. Our eyes met for a second too long. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. I cleaned the entire kitchen twice that day. Cooked dinner from scratch even though I wasn't hungry. James came home that night and kissed me on the forehead. Missed you, he said. I almost cried. Liam didn't come down for dinner. The next few days were a blur. James seemed happier, oddly enough. Maybe my guilt made me try harder. I listened when he talked. I laughed at his jokes. I touched his arm more often. It was all a performance, and I hated myself for being good at it. Liam and I kept our distance. We never mentioned that night. Never even hinted at it. But I could feel it, like a bruise beneath the surface. Every time we passed each other in the hall. Every time we were in the same room and couldn't make eye contact. It was all still there, pulsing just under the skin. Late one evening, I was reading in the living room when Liam finally broke the silence. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed, voice low. We can't let it happen again. I nodded. It won't. He hesitated. You sure? I didn't answer. He turned and left. That night, I crawled into bed beside James and stared at the back of his head for hours. I wanted to confess. Part of me even rehearsed the words in my head. But then I imagined his face. His anger. His pain. And I said nothing. The hardest part wasn't the lie. It was how easy it became to live with it. I wanted to tell myself it was a mistake. A one-time lapse in judgment. But it didn't feel like a mistake when it was happening. That's what haunted me most. The truth was, I wanted it. I chose it. I opened that door, walked through, and shut it behind me without looking back. Now, every sound in the house feels louder. Every silence feels heavier. Liam barely speaks to me. James thinks we are finally reconnecting. And I'm stuck in between, pretending to be the woman I was before, knowing she doesn't exist anymore. I crossed a line that night. Not just with Liam, but with myself. And I'm starting to realize, you don't come back from that. Let me know when you're ready for section 3. Here is section 3 of the script, with a minimum of 760 words, continuing directly from where the story left off, maintaining intensity, emotional clarity, and a clean, unflinching narrative tone. We didn't speak after that night. Liam kept his distance, not just from me, but from the house. He started coming home late, leaving early, barely making eye contact when we crossed paths. I wanted to believe that distance would help, that if we ignored what happened long enough, it would fade. But guilt doesn't dissolve in silence. It hardens. I caught myself watching the door when he came home, listening for his footsteps upstairs. Not because I wanted it to happen again, but because I didn't know how to exist in the same space as him anymore. Everything felt out of place. My marriage, my home, my sense of self. I couldn't trust anything, not even my own reflection. James noticed something was off, but not what I feared. He thought it was stress. Work. Hormones. He asked if I was okay. I nodded. He didn't push. That almost made it worse. His trust was complete. Blind. I hated him for that, and hated myself even more for betraying it. The longer I kept it buried, the more it changed me. I started waking up before dawn just to sit in the kitchen alone. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every sound made me flinch. I avoided mirrors. The silence in the house echoed back everything I didn't want to face. Ava noticed first. She asked if everything was all right, said I seemed withdrawn. I told her I was just tired. She didn't believe me but didn't press. I could have told her. Maybe I should have. But saying it out loud would have made it real. And I wasn't ready for that. I still hoped I could bury it deep enough that it wouldn't follow me. Then one morning, Liam told us he'd found a place. Said it was time to move out. James clapped him on the back, congratulated him. I smiled. Pretended to be happy for him. But inside, I panicked. Not because I wanted him to stay. But because him leaving felt like the end of something I couldn't explain. A part of me wanted closure. Or punishment. Or a confrontation that never came. When he packed his things, I helped him carry boxes to the car. Our fingers brushed once. It was accidental. We didn't acknowledge it. But in that moment, everything came back. The looks. The kiss. The weight of his body on mine. All of it, rushing in like it had happened yesterday. He didn't say goodbye, not really. Just nodded once before closing the door. I stood in the driveway longer than I needed to, breathing in cold air, trying to feel something other than shame. That night, James came home earlier than usual. He brought flowers. Cooked dinner. Told me he wanted to be more present, that he missed the version of us we used to be. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. He said he felt like he'd been failing me, and he wanted to fix that. I couldn't even look him in the eye. He touched my hand across the table and said he loved me. I whispered it back. And then excused myself to the bathroom, where I sat on the floor and cried so quietly I gave myself a headache. I wanted to believe I could rebuild what I had destroyed. That if I played my part well enough, the lie would lose its sharp edges. But pretending has a cost. And mine was constant exhaustion. I no longer knew which parts of my life were real and which were performance. Everything blurred. Sometimes I'd be in the middle of folding laundry or making dinner and suddenly feel this overwhelming wave of nausea. Like my body rejecting the version of reality I was trying to live. I kept thinking, what if James finds out? What if Liam tells someone? What if it doesn't stay buried? But it did. Days turned into weeks. Life continued. From the outside, nothing changed. James and I looked fine. Normal. Stable. But underneath, I carried something he couldn't see. A version of myself I didn't recognize. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't undo that night. I stopped trying to justify it. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice. A selfish, deliberate choice I made in a moment of weakness. And I'll never be able to take it back. Now, every time James touches me, I wonder if he can feel it, the distance, the shift, the fracture. He says he loves me. I say it back. But those words don't mean what they used to. They feel like paper. Thin. Breakable. People think betrayal is loud, screaming, crying, chaos. But mine was quiet. It lived in small glances, hushed breath, unspoken words. It bloomed in silence and stayed there, rooted deep. I don't know if I'll ever tell him. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. But I do know one thing. I crossed a line I can never uncross. And no matter how much I smile, or cook, or love, I carry it with me. Every single day. Hidden, silent, permanent. Too big to forget. Too heavy to let go. And no one, not even him, can ever know.